Welcome back, everybody, to This Is My Bourbon Podcast. I am your host, Perry, and I hope you've been well. I hope you've had a good week. I hope things are going swimmingly for you. Just a quick little update on how the past week has been for me. If you listened to or watched last week's podcast, you probably know that the government is still shut down. There is no resolution that has been brought about just yet. I am still employed. So I don't have that to worry about at the moment. There's supposed to be another vote this week as of the episode being recorded and released. I don't know what that outcome is going to be. There are rumblings that it's going pretty well as far as negotiations go. But we shall see. We'll see. I truly don't know. Who's to say? That being said, also, on a note about last week's episode of the podcast, I was made aware by a couple of folks that there was a very noticeable audio issue at around the 33:50 minute mark, 33-minute, 50-second mark. I fixed it for the audio version. I unfortunately was not able to fix it for the video version. It ends at 40 minutes and 56 seconds. I apologize for that. I don't fully know what happened. I had a little bit of an issue with my my memory space on my computer. That is probably what occurred during the exporting of the file, and as it was getting encoded, something just went insane. I don't know why. But the fact that, and what's funny too, is that there were two different versions of that audio issue, one in the video version and one in the audio version. I don't know, man. I don't know. But anyway, I wish that I had noticed it before it went live, but I apologize. Like I said, I have fixed the audio version. But I apologize for not being able to do anything about the video one. That being said, though, it's still a really good episode. I hope you listen to it if you haven't done so yet. And this is going to be a good episode, too, where I'm going to review the new Found North release, part of their high altitude collection. So that will be coming up a little bit later. But in the meantime, though, we kick off every episode with a segment known as Flying Blind, where I try something that I've either never had before or I have had prior and have kind of forgotten about, but the way I'm doing it this week is that it's something I've never had before. It's a, as I've been saying somewhat recently, this segment is in a state of flux without a co-host because I don't necessarily have, unless I get sent like a blind sample or something, I don't have anything to be blinded with. Aside from just getting to try something for the first time. And so this week, we are trying a new bottle, much like we did last week with the Woodinville Rye. And I'm doing a a new limited release. The reason I'm not reviewing this is because it's another allocation. I know that I'm also technically reviewing an allocation, but what are you going to do? I apologize. It's allocated season. There's going to be some allocated reviews that come up. I'm sorry. But this is the new edition of Widow Jane the Vaults. This one is 15 years old, as they typically are. It is finished in Mythological Oak. Now, if you don't know what that means, it is basically oak that comes from Greece, Mediterranean oak. Sacred to Zeus in Greek mythology, this oak imparts ripe notes of mountain sage, wild honey, and fig. Doesn't that just feel like they're taking the piss, man? I'd like, honestly, I don't know. Maybe I'm never going to get sent another bottle of Widow Jane if I say that. Their copy guys are going to be like, this guy's a real piece of work, you know? I know people that's happened to before, not necessarily with Widow Jane, but with other brands where they've been like, I don't know about this. And then like they just never get a bottle from them again. I'm sure that there is some truth to the tasting notes here. This is not off to a great start because the foil is not coming off. Just a second. Got it. Cork pop. Pretty good cork pop. Oh, it's also 99 proof. I meant to say that. And I forgot to. I just realized too that both of the whiskeys that I will be drinking and or reviewing will be 15 years old on this week's episode. So didn't really intend for that to happen, but here we are. Pretty nice color. Even for 15 years, it's a little bit light, oddly enough. But that might be the fact that it's 99 proof. Yo, okay. That nose is delightful. Hold on. Hold on. It's got a hint of licorice to it, which is not my favorite note, but it's layered with like toasted graham cracker. I mean, there is some fig on there. I'm not gonna lie. Look at me eating crow. Jarvis, make a picture of me eating crow. It's a killer nose. It is just dark enough too. Like not overly dark. It's really not even overly oaky. It's just got a really, really nice balance to it. So, this is also a $250 bottle. Just saying. And it was sent to me. They sent me this bottle. I did not purchase it. Widow Jane sent it to me. I'm also not being paid. It was a media bottle. Cheers. Oh. I have some Greek food, some Mediterranean food, some leftovers in my fridge. That this is going to go incredibly well with. I kind of want to like make an old fashioned with this, like some kind of cocktail. That finish is insane. Let me take another sip and I'll walk through what's going on here. Up front, honeysuckle, lemon, the fig is present. Um, brown sugar. Slight bit of like toasted oak. As it goes into the mid palate, it starts to get more and more of this like jammy flavor. Slightly more of a like light, maybe even like white chocolate too. And the finish is the finish is really where most of the finishing is clear. Like the double oaking is clear. This is one of the most unique products, excuse me, I have ever had. And one of the more fascinating bourbons that especially like gives me that feeling of I can't I still feel like, and I keep harping on like, you know, I don't feel like bourbon is in its twilight yet. I think that there is still a phase that we haven't fully discovered, whether it is like to continue working through different types of finishes or different mash bills or different aging techniques or whatever. There's more to be done. And I feel like this is pretty evident that even if you take oak from around the world, you're going to get, I mean, this is nothing new. We know that French oak does different things. We know that Japanese oak does different things as a finishing product. But even if we took, because it doesn't have to be American oak, right? Am I crazy? Does bourbon have to be aged in American oak? Hello, Vine Pair. What do you have to say? TTB. Here. The TTB regulation defines bourbon as whiskey produced in the U.S. at not exceeding 80% alcohol by volume from a fermented mash of not less than 51% corn and stored at not more than 62.5% alcohol by volume in charred new oak containers. Now, I do think that this is slightly outdated because that's from September 7th, 2020. I do believe that they changed the verbiage to charred new oak barrels and not containers. But I don't think that they updated it to say only American oak barrels. If that still rings true, though, like they could still be that, you know, you can age it in, as Vine Pair says, French oak, Japanese oak, Brazilian oak, Hungarian oak. And now, I mean, whether or not there is any, you know, whether or not this is a cost-effective measure, but using mythological oak from Greece, that could be another avenue as well. Just that would be an interesting first trip to put bourbon in. You know, what I'm really trying to say is if that would be an aging technique, you know, I do think that is still the case, that it doesn't have to be American oak. Yeah, it looks like, I mean, just a couple of other glances, it does just say new oak barrels on in other places. So just wanted to point that out. And just not even like a, you know, a particularly poignant articulated poignantly articulated argument in this case, because it's something that I have discussed before on the podcast and on live streams, of course, youtube.com/listenmybourbonpodcast, twitch.tv /mybourbonpod for live streams on Thursday nights, 7 p.m. Eastern, and other times as well, just depending. But I just still feel like we're not in the end of this era for bourbon. I think that we still have more to do with it. There's more to be done. And I also think, to echo what some people have said before, as we see oak shortages happening, there might have to be a redefinition of what bourbon actually means in some capacities. Now, I mean, we've had to have definitions of things like American single malt, of course, but that's a technically infant product in American whiskey. So all that being said, though, we'll see what the future looks like. And this is a really good bourbon. I don't know if it's $250 worth, but that's more of a subjective argument more than anything. The pricing side of things becomes way more heady these days, because what does anything mean anymore? You know what I mean? Probably not. What have I been drinking recently? Well, let me tell you. On my live stream this past week, I did a full lineup of the 4 most recent batches of Rare Character Limited Release bourbons, 8, 9, 10, and 11, and determined that of those 4, batch 8 was my favorite. And I have been enjoying that so much over the past few days, when I have the time to. As I've said on my Patreon releases this week, which, by the way, if you're not already on the Patreon, there's bonus content over there every week. It's patreon.com/mybourbonpodcast. But I've been taking care of the girls on my own, while Lucy has been helping out and basically running my sister-in-law's bachelorette weekend, bachelorette party weekend, I guess. I don't know. So I haven't had a whole lot of time to engage with bourbon over the past few days. But when I have had the off chance to do so, it has been in the form of batch 8 of the Rare Character Limited release. I also grabbed a couple of 6-packs of beer, and I've had one of each since I got them on Thursday. One was the Sam Adams Oktoberfest, which I next week think we'll do, what did I call that? That segment I've done once and haven't done again yet. The Perfect Pair, in place of doing Flying Blind. I'll do that again next week and talk about what my perfect pair for Sam Adams Oktoberfest is. Because unfortunately we're getting close to the end of Oktoberfest season. And then the re-release now, because it is finally back in season, the New Belgium Oak Spire, which is a bourbon barrel ale finished in 4 Roses barrels, which, if you have not had before, if you are kind of on the fence about bourbon barrel finished beers, or really kind of about bourbon barrel finished, or really just beer at all, it is one of my favorite beers, hands down. And I think that it is a perfect introduction to it's really good for bourbon lovers who don't necessarily like beer. It's not heavy. It is very bourbon influenced, and it only comes out once a year. and I look forward to it every single year. Eric and I reviewed it last year. I'm pretty sure. I think we did. I don't remember off the top of my head. Doesn't matter. But I'm even supposed to be getting some sent to me from the folks at New Belgium, who are absolutely fantastic. I love them to death. They've been great to the podcast every time that I've gotten the chance to work with them. I'd like to work with them again in the future if I get the chance to do so. That's my not so subtle way of saying hello, New Belgium. Please work with the show more. But I also feel like that could be a really good, the perfect pair segment where I could just pair it with the best Four Roses product that I think you could easily get. So maybe next week we'll do a bourbon and beer pairing episode. That actually doesn't sound too terrible, to be honest. Maybe we'll do that. I'm percolating some ideas. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out together. Either way. All right, folks. We got a review this week. This is the brand new release from Found North. It is part of their high altitude collection. It is Goldfinch First Flight. It is a 15-year-old whiskey. Let's take a look at some of the facts about it here. It is composed of 5 different whiskeys. A 15-year-old corn whiskey in New Wood, 22-year-old corn whiskey in New Wood, 20-year corn in ex-bourbon, 22 corn in ex-bourbon, and a 20-year rye in ex-bourbon. There are also some finishing casks in here. Sauternes, cognac, and air-dried New American Oak. There's a grain ratio that they have figured out of 91% corn, 8% rye, and 1% malted barley, and it is 116.2 proof. It is $160 per bottle, and the copy from Found North it says, with our high altitude collection whiskeys, we focus on matching the initial blend profile to the planned cask regimen. In the case of Goldfinch First Flight, our primary finishing cask was Sauternes. The core blend of Goldfinch provided a textural underpinning and a foundation of fruit notes that transformed with the Sauternes influence, blossoming into a rich, creamy mouthfeel with bright citrus and white fruits. Two-thirds of the core blend was finished in Sauternes casks. The remainder was evenly split between cognac casks and air-dried heavy toast. Char Level 1 New American Oak from Kelvin. The cognac casks complement the Sauternes by adding another layer of orchard fruit. The Kelvin barrels also complement the Sauternes by providing an additional layer of vanilla and caramel to thicken the textural profile of the whiskey. I know that I said Sauternes about 8 different ways throughout the time that I was reading that, but I'm not a native French speaker, nor did I take French in high school or college. I took Spanish, and I have forgotten, I would say, 90% of it. So, regardless, let's crack into this guy, see what's going on. This is also a media sample, too. I'm not, I don't have a full bottle at all. A little bit light in color. But it is Canadian whiskey, of course. It's not going to get all of that age from the, extreme temperatures that we get here in the States. Sweet on the nose. Kind of like a forest sweetness, if that makes sense. Less like fruit or sugar, more like... There's a very funny video that I've been sent before that's like, there are 2 types of bourbon tasting notes. One is notes of like dried oak and fruit and spice or whatever, and the other one is standing in a meadow in Renaissance era nightgown while listening to Tchaikovsky music and also sitting there and also having a leather armchair next to you while like that kind of just insanity. And the note that I was specifically getting is not quite like that crazy, but it was more like in the realm of like a forest or a wooded area that has just experienced like fresh rain. Like it's a pretty pretty cool and damp pretty cool and damp woods, I suppose. That kind of thing. Do you understand what I'm saying? I hope so. I'm sorry. I was I was lost in the metaphors for a bit. Hints of ginger. A little bit of citrus too. It's a very vibrant, very bright nose. I'll be quite honest. So, cheers. I'm drinking out of my Jack Daniel's bonded rye glass for some reason. Ooh. Ooh. It starts out with those bright, sweeter notes. And it starts to go kind of like dark and a little meaty, which is why I was going, ooh. Kind of like dark fruit, but also in the realm of this kind of like robust, savory flavor. How interesting. What goodness. This is really nice. It really does start with like honey, graham crackers, and I say that separately, not like honey graham crackers, but like honey, graham crackers, and marshmallow. Also, I'm watching past. I'm not staring at the camera, by the way, if you're watching the video version. There is a very tiny spider that is... Oh, it got scared, and it's climbing back up. Let me see if I can get it on my phone. It's going to be too... There's too much light. Where'd it go? Oh, there it is. It's so small. It's an insanely small spider. Anyway, sorry, back to the whiskey. This is just so good. Even though I am somebody who really likes darker profiles on whiskeys, this is hitting me in a way to where I feel like I wouldn't change anything. Like they did just about everything right. I'm not even joking. Oh man. It's sweet, it's savory, it is a little decadent at times. It gets you in like the right place to where you could like pair this with desserts, you could pair this with a steak, you could pair this with, I don't know, Cheetos. Like there's a lot of good stuff happening here. Like I am a fan of this whiskey. Oh, man. And it's been a minute since I've had anything that's made me like stop and go, oh, hold on a second. Hold on. Give me just a minute, all right? The mouthfeel is unbelievable too. If I had one like slight, not even really complaint, just like the nose has a bit of a like stale note on it, but even then it's like you have to really dissect it to get there. I mean, it's pretty impenetrable. I'm friggin' blown away by this, man. Absolutely blown away. Whew. Okay. Y'all already know it. Nose, palate, finish, and price. It is the process in which I evaluate whiskeys here on This Is My Bourbon Podcast. It is a 4-category method of scoring things. Each category is out of 5. Final score is out of 20. On the nose, we are at a very tight 4.5. It's beautiful, man. It's like you're getting just this elegant bouquet of whiskey, and it's lovely. Palate's a 5. Palate's absolutely a 5. And the finish does nothing but make me want to go back for more. It starts to really lean into some of the darker notes on the profile without going too heavy-handed into them. It is incredibly well balanced. And it goes on for a million years. And it's also a 5. $160 can be a little expensive for this market, but it's pretty appropriately priced. The fact that you are getting some 22-year-old whiskey in here is not to be... I don't think you should turn your nose up at that, especially considering how artfully blended this is into one of the better whiskeys that I have had this year. Quickly shooting its way into my top 10. I don't know exactly where yet, but Lord have mercy, this is wonderful. It's absolutely fantastic. I'm gonna just go ahead and say, if you see a bottle of this, I would recommend grabbing it if you can afford it. 4.5 on the price, which brings me up to a very solid 19 out of 20. This dang bottle. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for how much I was going to love this. And here I am, loving every second of it. And then some, because there's a finish as well. But we are now going to move into a segment of the show known as Barrel Rings, which you can participate in by calling and leaving a voicemail or texting the phone number 859-428-8253. Now, this is not my personal phone number, of course. This is a hotline that we have set up for the podcast many, many years ago and has somehow been maintained for a very, very long time. How long have I had this? 2019? I've had this since 2019. What is this? Hold on. Before we go to the actual barrel ring, I need to know what this is. I don't remember this voicemail. Okay, I'm not going to play any more of that because I think it's a bit from something. Somebody called in. I don't know what this number is. I usually know some numbers that call in. Somebody called in and just recorded like a bit, and I don't remember that at all. Oh, here it is. This is my favorite barrel rings of all time. This is from This is from January of 2022. And I think the barrel rings number was being spoofed by spam callers. This is an 9-second long voicemail. I love this so much. All right, here we go.
This is Charlie Brown. Why did you call here?
He talked for 5 seconds, 4 seconds, and then it's just 5 seconds of dead silence.
This is Charlie Brown. Why did you call here?
Oh, man. Oh, that is the funniest one we have ever gotten on the show. Oh, I love going back to that every now and then. It always cracks me up. All right, here's the actual barrel ring from this week. It's from Mike Schneider.
Hey, Perry, it's Michael Schneider. Thought I'd take a page out of Chad Watson's book and call you while I was driving home in our first substantial rainstorm of the year here in Northern California, which made me think, now that we're getting you back there, especially be pulling your mittens and toques out from under the bed out of storage, what other whiskeys might you be bringing out of storage to warm you on the ever-cooling winter nights? Look forward to your response. That is all. Have a lovely day.
He ended with such like vitriol in his voice. Well, Michael Schneider, thank you so much for calling in. What am I pulling out of storage? I'll tell you two things that I'm pulling out of storage here, Michael Schneider. One, And the reason if you're listening to the Patreon version, I apologize. I had to look in my cabinet for a second and ascertain what it was that I was going to indeed be pulling out. One is going to be a series of Elijah Craig barrel proofs that I haven't had in a while that have just been sitting in my cabinet. And I don't even know what all I have at this point. I'll be very honest with you. They've just been in there. Because of course, like, you gotta try to stay warm. I've got, if I am remembering correctly, I very likely have Elijah Craig barrel proof batches at least back to like 2020 or 2021. The problem with those is they just don't last around here very long. And they historically have not. Back when B517 first came out, which won like Whiskey of the Year for Whiskey Advocate, if I remember correctly, I blew through that bottle. I mean, the first one that I got, it was gone in an instant. I mean, not an instant, but you know what I mean. It did not take long. And I mean, that was back in the day too, where I was like, every bottle that I got, I was drinking through, I mean, very quickly. Okay, that's not the right way to say that. What I mean is, excuse me, I wasn't like bunkering bottles, or I didn't have the collection that I do now. So I would buy a bottle, finish it, and then I would buy another bottle. Like, there's none of this like, well, I see this bottle and I got to get it so that I don't miss out on it or anything. Like, back then it was like, wait until that bottle is gone, and then move on to, the next one. And if it was a barrel proof bottle, it was a barrel proof bottle. You had to drink it neat or in a cocktail or on the rocks or whatever. Or maybe, I'd have, a Turkey 101 or whatever nearby, so I wasn't only drinking barrel proof back in those days. But that's all. That's all. But the other thing that I particularly noticed in my cabinet was the new riff pick that we did, Riffmas Story, which I have such fond memories of. Very first barrel pick we ever did for the podcast, back in 2020. It was the first. This was I did that pick right after Eden, my oldest daughter, was born. We got to do it with Curtis and Swan, whom if you're not caught up on bourbon, excuse me, Timbip lore, this is my bourbon podcast lore. Two former co-hosts of the show. We got to do it with the Nashville Bourbon Society, NBS. Just a whole bunch of like fun, awesome moments that are ingrained in my brain, that make you feel like, oh, it's the good old days. I love thinking about that bottle, and I try to break it out around Christmas time because it's special to me. So I also think I have some Knob Creek picks that need to be either assimilated into my my infinity bottle or just finished altogether. I don't know yet. I need to make that assessment in due time. Time for a segment called High Proof Hot Takes, which actually I'm just going to skip because I don't have anything that I've been fuming over this past week. So we're going to move right into a different segment known as Tips and Bits, where I recommend things that I have been watching, reading, listening to, maybe playing, that I also want you to check out because I think it might enrich your life a little bit. And by golly, I got a couple of things that I'm going to talk about this week. I know last week I mentioned Donkey Kong Bonanza, the new Switch 2 Donkey Kong game. I'm going to hold off on talking about that anymore until I get to the end. I'm still powering my way through it. But I did watch a movie this week that I wanted to talk about. Maybe not entirely recommend because I had some issues with it. Mainly the pacing, mainly some of the character development. But I watched Weapons, the new Zach Cregger film. He's a director that if you're probably most familiar with because of Whitest Kids You Know, or because of the film Barbarian, which I loved. I loved Barbarian. It was such a weird, like, grotesque and bizarre movie that made me it definitely made me uncomfortable, but B, I loved on so many different levels. And it in the horror genre, I love like things that kind of make me squirm a little bit, and Barbarian definitely makes you squirm. And Weapons is Cregger's like follow-up film. And it makes you squirm for sure. Like, there are some very bizarre, very uncomfortable moments, but it's not. There are times where it doesn't feel earned or deserved in the way that Barbarian did. And excuse me. I also, sorry, thought I heard something outside. I also had this like feeling of, and like I said, like the pacing of it is so weird because it's segmented into, and I don't think this is a spoiler, but if you don't want any spoilers at all for this movie and you haven't seen it yet, I'm way behind on it. Like this is a movie that came out like a month or so ago, and I just haven't had a chance to see it yet. So go ahead and skip ahead a little bit. I'm going to recommend something else in a moment. But it's segmented into different, like, almost character arcs that heavily focus on different people within the narrative of the story, while it still kind of has like overlapping narratives as well that eventually, come to a head at the climax. And it works in some ways. It really doesn't work in others because it feels like there are a bunch of hard cuts that interrupt you from feeling, and like there is genuinely like a feeling of, oh, he's trying to be unique and somewhat innovative in his storytelling, even though like vignettes are not something that are unheard of with storytelling in movies. But all of that being said, within the context of this film, it almost doesn't work, and it would feel more natural if these stories were told in a more linear fashion, because we are doing a lot of like, well, here's this story and we're done with that, and as we move into the next one, it's like, well, here's what was happening while that story was going on, and then here's another hard cut, and then it just kind of is like that same repetition. It goes on like 4 or 5 different times, and there is some gorgeous camera work. I think that it overall is very beautifully shot. The scene, the set dressing is really nice. it just is like, by the time it gets to the end of it, and you've probably seen Gladys, who is the main like antagonist of the film. By the time it gets to the end of the movie, you kind of are left feeling like, well, was she really like? Was there enough buildup for her being the villain? And did we spend enough time developing like her as the main antagonist? And is her character arc as good as some of the protagonists? And it's very hard to determine within the context of the film itself who the actual protagonist is, because there are so many like main characters that it's hard to pick and choose like who you should truly be focusing on. Like, there are plenty of likable characters in this film, but there's nobody that is really like, you know, aside from Julia Garner, who is spectacular in this movie, I think. Excuse me. It's just not like, there are parts of it where I'm just like left going, okay, this could have been a TV show. This could have been, you know, maybe even like 30 minutes longer in some cases, even though it is over 2 hours long. To me, it's like, you know, I don't necessarily want longer movies if the movie is going to suffer, but if it's going to help the storytelling, I think it is going to, you know, I'm going to benefit from it. The audience is going to benefit from it. I would recommend it more highly if it is a longer movie and it has better storytelling. All that being said, I mean, like, it's probably like a 2 out of 5, 2.5 out of 5, maybe. But I watch Barbarian over this, maybe. I don't know. I wanted to like it more than I did. It's fine. It unfortunately is my kind of takeaway from it. But yeah, Weapons, a movie. The other thing I'm going to recommend is a channel that I just found today, literally on YouTube before I started recording, and I watched one video, and I walked away from it going, I needed this, and as he puts it in his description, a feel-good variety show about food, travel, and the questions you didn't know you had. And the guy's name is Sam Reed, R-E-I-D. But the show itself is called The Studio Review, R-E-V-U-E, hosted by Sam Reed. And the video that I watched specifically was, I found one of the last KFC buffets in America. And it's not even like a critical like take on American economics or our society or anything. It's literally just him like going to one of the last KFC buffets in America with his buddy and trying it and seeing what he liked about it and trying food that is not even on really like the KFC menu. Like, it was just a fun like 17-minute watch. And he's got a whole bunch of videos. Like, he's got 200 videos, and he lives in Virginia. I kind of want to see if he'll be on the podcast just for the heck of it. Like, I don't really have a reason not to reach out to him, I suppose. But his tagline at the end of each of his videos and at the end of his description on YouTube is, and just remember that even when it doesn't feel like it, it's going to be okay. How many of us need to hear that on a more regular basis? Like, I know that sounds so like coworker brained, but man, I just feel like sometimes we get so heady with the things that we read and we listen to, where it's pie in the sky, big thoughts, big feelings, and way too overblown. but it's just nice to have things kind of boiled down every now and then and just have somebody say it's going to be all right, man. Like, I love that. I love it. And I'm going to be watching more and more of the studio review, and I hope you do too. And I kind of hope to have Sam on the podcast. Like, I genuinely do. I hope this reaches him somehow. If you if you know him or you've watched his content before, let him know that he's got a new fan, and I hope that we can collaborate in some way. But that is all I got for you this week. Thank you so much for listening. As always, if you like what I'm doing here and you want to support the show, you can head to patreon.com/mybourbonpodcast for as little as $1 a month. For as little as $5 a month, though, you get bonus content every single week. On Mondays, there is a bonus episode. On Tuesdays, there is the pregame chats and early access to the podcast that is uncut and unedited with bonus content just for Patreon subscribers. Patreon, stick around for a little bit. I got some extra for you. You also, at any tier, get access to our Discord as well, where we're in there, we're hanging out, we're having a good time, we're chatting about things that we don't even really normally chat about on the podcast. It's just, having fun together. What was that? I have no idea. My brain is mush. You can follow the show on all social media. It is at My Bourbon Pod. Posting about the show, posting about things I've been drinking, post about whatever. Just go follow the show, please. You can send questions or comments to thisismybourbonshop@gmail.com. Why is it not mybourbonpod@gmail.com, Perry? It's very funny that you asked that question. It's because this email was set up originally because I started everything that I do around an apparel shop that is bourbonshop.threadless.com, where you can also find all of the apparel and merchandise for the show itself. Stickers, t-shirts, skateboards, mugs, things like that. There's so much that you can find over there. When you buy stuff for the show over there, you support the show directly. You support me. Even if you can't commit to supporting the show on Patreon, you want to buy something over at the Threadless store, it goes to support your guy. I do all the designs, I do all the work, and it's just a great way to support the show, of course. You can also send in a barrel ring, as we did earlier. If you want to be like Charlie Brown, who got a spoof call from that number many moons ago. The number is 859-428-8253. None of what I really said made that much of a sense, whatever. 859-428-8253. Send a voicemail. Leave us a text. I said that backwards, but you can also send things to the P.O. Box for the show. It's P.O. Box 22609, Lexington, Kentucky 40522. Samples, bottles, snail mail, whatever, send it over there. Check it out. Love to have stuff for Flying Blind sent in by listeners of the show, if you would like to do that. Also, I go live on Thursdays, on youtube.com/thismybourbonpodcast and twitch.tv/mybourbonpod. Also on the Facebook page. If you just search for This Is My Bourbon Podcast, if that's how you want to watch it. I might just stop doing that because the extra bandwidth, but if you like watching on Facebook, why not? I don't care. And also leave us a 5-star rating and review on your favorite podcast app of choice. I primarily check the one with Apple Podcasts. And still waiting on Frankie-N and JC Shaw 47 to get in contact with me so I can get their samples out to them, because they left a 5-star rating and review when I asked for new 5-star ratings and reviews to be sent to that app, and have not heard from them. Haven't heard from them. At My Bourbon Pod, this is my bourbon shop @gmail.com, whatever's the most convenient for you. It's very easy. Very convenient. You got samples waiting for you guys. Just let me know, please. It's been going on for over a month now. I don't know what else to do. I don't know what your I don't know what your ads are. That does it though. Please come back next week where I think I'm going to be doing the bourbon and beer pairings. I think that's what's going to happen this time around. I love you all so much. Thank you for continuing to support the show. It means the world to me. That's all I got. See you next time. Until then, though, I'm Perry. This is my Bourbon Podcast.